Hello everyone and welcome back to Car Project Drawings tutorial videos. So in today's video we'll be starting the next set of drawings. I think in this video we'll work on the axle, which is the first video in drawings 2. Just a quick reminder, last time, so if we go to File, New, so Novice. So if I go to my Advanced, you have your Part, Assembly, Drawing. This is your Novice. This is your default SolidWorks input. Basically, if you every time you open up SolidWorks, this is your the basic layout you get. But if you go to the Advanced one, which what we have been using lately to create the drawings, you have the templates. So as you guys can see, I have my templates up there, which I have the MCC ENR drawing included in there. And so I went over how to do that in the previous videos, but just a quick reminder, if you go to Options, if you go to File Locations, if you go to Document Templates, this Show folder for, there's a drop-down menu, and the first one is Document Templates. If you go to that, you can add the folder, and whatever drawing template you save in that folder will show up. So basically I have my I create a folder called my template, and I saved the template that we created in that folder. That's why it shows up. And then you can call it whatever. So in this case I have mine named as my templates, and so if I go to File, New, my template shows up, and whatever I named that drawing template in there, which in this case is called MCC ENR drawing. So let's go ahead and start a new drawing. So like we've done in the past, let's go and browse to our, so in this video we'll work on the axle. So let's go, I believe it's Car Parts 2 axle, and let's grab the part file. Click OK. So from the drawing sheet, we know we have 3 views. So let's add, I believe this is the front view. Also want to add an isometric view. So if you, from the front view, if you go up and you go to the right, the isometric view shows up, or if you go up to the left, the isometric view, but it's rotated or mirrored about that center line. So let's go up and to the right, or if you just go on an angle, let's add that isometric view. We can close the dialog, click OK. So I have my 2 views. So there's another view which we'll add in a sec. But before we do that, let's go ahead. So my scale is 1 to 2 right now. Basically, it's half of what the actual size is with respect to the sheet. So let's go ahead and so right click, go to, I need to expand my menu for some reason, but if you go to Properties, let's change that to 1 to 1. Apply changes. So there's this issue with my sheet format, but it's really not an issue. If I click cancel, it automatically updates. Still haven't figured out why that shows up every time. So okay, so I have my isometric view. I have my front view. Before we start adding dimensions, let's go ahead and add the third view on that drawing. And it's a projected view. So if I go to View Layout, I have this projected view option. So let's go ahead and click on it. Please select the drawing view from which to project. So projected view is basically looking at the part from an angle, which is like in this case, project view, it's a 90-degree angle from what you're looking at. So if I click on this view, if I drag to the left, I get this projected view, which is basically 90-degree from the front view, looking at it from the front. So if you can go to the right, go up, it's basically looking at it from the top. Again, it's basically a 90 degree from what you're looking at. let's go ahead and add this projected view. And that's the only view we need to add if you look at the drawing. So I have my 3 views. So the author and description didn't get pulled in. Let's see if I save that. So save as desktop car project. I'm just gonna create a new folder. Car drawings 2. Okay, create a folder within that folder. Axle. This is the axle drawing. Okay, so if this doesn't auto-populate, that means my item doesn't have a description or an author. So if I go back and I right-click on the part, or if you come over here, drawing view with axle, if you right-click, you can go to. So if I right-click and I do open part, and so I have my axle part, the 1015 steel. So if I go to properties, summary, so as we predicted, the author is blank. Let's go ahead and fill this out. So let me go to custom. I'm gonna add description. Let's do 6mm 1018 steel. Click OK. So let's go ahead and file save. So if I close this out and I go back now, my drawing set's updated automatically. So pulled in the author and the description. You guys remember these are equations that are linked to the part itself. So let's go ahead and so actually before we add the dimensions in there, let's looking at the drawing, there's a center mark and a center line. So let's add those. So if I go to annotation, I'm just going to add the center mark for this end. So let's go to annotation. There's a center mark. I'm just going to click on it. Click OK. That size is good enough. Again, you can modify it if you want. You can use document, or you can change that. So if I go to 0.2, but that's big. So let's go 0.1, which is what our document defaults are. Click OK. What I'm gonna do now is add the center line. So again, from my annotation tab, if I go to center line, so this command adds a center line to a view or a selected entity. So if I sorry about that, clicked on the center mark. So click on the center line. Basically, it's asking for a view. If I select my view, automatically adds the center line. So that's not exactly what my drawing looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to extend that center line. So that looks good. Basically elongating the line. So some sheet. So that looks good. I'm just going to go ahead and save before I go ahead and add my dimensions. So we've done this in the past. I'm just going to grab whatever dimensions I've used in the model. So I'm going to go to annotations, model items, select this view. So I'm not going to add any dimensions on this view, so I don't need to worry about that. So let's do a whole call out, and it might automatically add dimensions to that view, but we can move it to another view. Let's click OK. always do this for some reason. Let's go to model items, entire model. Okay. So let's see. Looking at my drawing sheet, I have my 6.5. That's that one I'm gonna keep. I have my 0.236 diameter. So I'm gonna keep. So I don't need my angle one. So let's go actually. So what I did is I just deleted that. So I'm just gonna go back, undo that. I'm just gonna hide it. So if I'm gonna select it, right click, hide. Let's see. So I have 0.031. That's basically my chamfer. So I'm gonna annotate the chamfer in a different way. Excuse me. So I'm gonna right click on that and hit hide. So I have my sorry about that. I have my 2.392 dimensions, and I have my 0.25. Just so it's cleaner, I'm just gonna see if I can. Let's see if I can reference that. Let me hide that for now. I have my 0.197, which I don't need. Oh, actually, I do need that. I'm just gonna move it right here. Let me just move these over a bit. They're right here. I just want to clean it up, so I'm just gonna drag these. Okay, that looks good. So I want to add a dual dimension here. So if I toggle my dual dimension, it's gonna grab the 5 inches, which is metric. Sorry, 5 millimeter. And this is my English, and in the brackets is it's my metric. So I don't want to dimension it. I don't want to dimension this slot this way. I want to use a datum, so it's easier from a machining standpoint. So let me just go ahead and hide this dimension. I'm going to go to my smart dimension and just dimension it with respect to this edge or datum. Add that. The reason this dimension is gray, and as we discussed in the past, it's because I added this dimension manually, and these dimensions are generated from the model. So these dimensions are driving. I can go ahead and change this dimension, and the model will actually change, and I cannot do that with this dimension. Basically, it's another way to look at it. It's a reference dimension. So I have my. Let's go ahead and add a dual dimension for this dimension. Let's see. Let's go ahead and dimension this cut. Again, so I don't want to add it to both ends. I just want to show it once, and I can reference that. So if I go to my dimension text, so if I exit out and I go back in there, click on it once, this menu shows up in my dimension text. So if I click on there, and I can just insert text. So I'm gonna hit the space bar, add a space. I'm just gonna put in both ends. Let's move that right here. This a bit. let's see. The last thing I want to do is add the chamfer dimension. So if I up here in annotation, my smart dimension, I'm going to click on this drop-down menu. And there's one option that's a chamfer dimension. So let's go ahead and click on that. And what I want to do is I want to click on this angled edge first. I want to click on this edge. That basically gives me my chamfer dimensions. The same thing, I'm going to go to my dimension text, but this time I'm going to hit the enter. So to go down and write both ends. I'm just going to move this down a bit. So I believe I have all my dimensions from the drawing. So let's go ahead and save that. Save all. One thing to mention is, just like we've talked about, the gray dimensions are what we added. The black ones are the model items. So if you want to change that, and you want to, so if you want to file save or send a PDF of this, you want all dimensions to be black. So one way to do this, if I go to options, and this is a preference thing, obviously. If you go to colors, so system options, colors is one of them. And so there's a color scheme settings. If I go down, there is dimensions importing, the imported dimensions, which are the driving dimensions. So the driving dimensions are the dimensions that if I change it in the drawing will actually change the model. The non-imported, which are the driven, so these are basically another name for these are reference dimensions. So I cannot modify the model; they're just there to be a reference. So they're driving, they're driven, not driving. So if I click on that, you see this, it's gray, which is where it is in the model. If I click edit, I can go to black, click OK, and if I click OK, all my dimensions are black now. So I'm gonna zoom the sheet, file save, and we're all set. One thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna publish the drawings. And this might take a bit, depending on your computer. So I have my e-drawing all set. I'm gonna go file, save as, save that in the same folder. So car project, car drawings 2, axle, save. We're all set.